Welcome to part 2 of my PCOS journey. September is PCOS Awareness Month, and in my last video, I talked about part 1 of my PCOS journey, where I shared my diagnosis and early treatment. So in today's video, I would like to share with you how I hit my highest weight with PCOS, how I started healing, lost 50 pounds, and what led me into my trying to conceive. So if that's something you are interested in hearing more about, stick around and keep watching. I got my notes, I got my coffee, and I'm ready to go. So at the end of 2023, I was at my highest weight of about 230 pounds. And I was absolutely miserable. I was fatigued, I was in pain, and I was dealing with mental health struggles. So I want to start off by sharing some of the physical symptoms that I experienced. The first of those is chronic pain from inflammation. And what that looked like for me was that my feet hurt, my ankles hurt, my legs hurt, my knees hurt, my back hurt, everything hurt. I was in constant pain. Irregular periods. So I mentioned in my last video that my periods were irregular, and I would have 3 to 6 months in between periods, sometimes even longer. And in that time, I developed something called abnormal uterine bleeding, which is when you have bleeding in between your cycles, or it could be spotting. For me, I was spotting every single day in between my 3 to 6 month cycles. Excessive weight gain, which I also talked about a little in my last video. So I gain weight very rapidly, and with PCOS, it is very, very easy to gain weight, and it is extremely difficult to lose it. Unwanted body hair. Unwanted. Emphasis on unwanted body hair. So that showed up for me. It shows up for me in hair that grows along my chin line and also my upper lip. Male pattern hair thinning. Oh my God. Oh my God. So I experienced this at my temples and in the crown of my head, and you can imagine that being a Black woman with locks, this was indeed challenging and very emotional. Dark spots on my skin, and this for me was around my armpit and inner thigh. Another thing here is skin changes. My skin was extremely oily, or is extremely oily because of PCOS. Insulin resistance, which for me that ultimately led to my hormonal imbalances and diabetes. Other little symptoms that I can remember are the hot flashes, irritable bowel, and having to pee all the time. Some of my emotional symptoms were, first and foremost, a constant co-occurring low-grade anxiety and depression. So every single day I felt anxious and depressed. Mood swings, irritability, my poor husband, insecurity about my body. I really hated who I saw when I looked in the mirror, and I just was so over myself that I knew that something had to change. I just didn't know how to change it at that moment in time. Worry about whether I would conceive. That was a big one for me because my husband and I had been married for about a year at this time. We weren't preventing anything from happening, but it just was not happening. We had decided that we would focus on me getting my health in order and losing weight before we would actually seriously start trying. And brain fog. You can imagine being a mental health professional with brain fog, anxiety, and depression. Enough said there. So now I want to get into how I started losing weight. In January of 2023, I knew that I had to make some changes. Perfect time of the year to start making those changes. And I started doing intermittent fasting on a 16/8 schedule. And what that is that I would fast for 16 hours a day and I would eat 8 hours a day. I started to feel a little better. I started to have a little bit more energy, but the weight was still coming off very, very slow. It was then that I realized that PCOS makes it really difficult for women to lose weight, and I have to work twice as hard to see less results than your average woman. So I started doing my research and I came across the carnivore diet. So I tried the carnivore diet in May of 2024. After hearing reviews about it and seeing that a lot of people were having good success with losing weight, and the carnivore diet, if you don't know, is when you eat nothing but meat products. So you can eat your pork, you can eat your beef, you can eat your poultry, your seafood, all meat products, but no carbs, no veggies, no fruit, nothing except for meat. And I found that I did lose more weight on the carnivore diet. I started to get my energy back up, and that's when I started going to the gym. I would go to the gym about 3 to 5 times a week, doing low intensity cardio on the treadmill for about 30 minutes to an hour. And after about 3 months of the carnivore diet and working out, I was down 12 pounds, which is a major win for someone with PCOS. And after that, I stumbled across a video where they were talking about alternative day fasting, or ADF. And if you don't know, alternative day fasting is when you fast every other day. So in August of 2024, I started a modified version of that where I would fast for 3 days a week and eat 4 days a week. So what that looked like in my schedule was on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I would fast and not eat anything, just drink water and herbal tea. And then on Tuesday, Thursday, and the weekend, I would eat. Those were my eat days. And on my eat days in the beginning, I continued the carnivore diet. And then eventually I started to add in the keto diet on my eat days, which I continued to see consistent progress. I was still losing pounds, inches, and I felt absolutely amazing. And to date, I have lost nearly 50 pounds using ADF. And at some point I did fall off of ADF, and by fall off I mean I still do the 3 days a week fasting, but on my eat days I am eating whatever I want. What I've noticed with that is it's kind of helped me to maintain my weight. I know that if I were to eat whatever I want 7 days a week, I would definitely have put back on all the weight plus some, but I think that the fasting 3 days a week has helped me to balance and maintain the weight loss that I've already accomplished. So now I want to talk a little bit about what it was like healing and beginning to heal from PCOS. So since I started losing weight, my periods, number one, my periods have been regular. And by regular, I mean 27 to 29 day cycles every month for the last 7 months, which has never happened in the history of me having a period. And all of my levels came back into normal range, which I will go into details about in a future video. I had more energy, I had more clarity, more confidence, I had less mood swings, and I started to feel like myself again. So I went back to my endocrinologist, who I hadn't seen since before I started losing weight. And in my last appointment, she had prescribed me Ozempic, but I only took it like 1 or 2 days because it was making me nauseous. So in this appointment, she asked me if I was still on Ozempic, and she had obviously noticed my weight loss. And I told her, no, I haven't. And she looked at me like, oh, so this is all your work. And I was like, absolutely yes. And I felt so proud of myself in that moment. So she went over all of my blood work numbers, and my A1C had went back down into a non-diabetic range, which I was happy about. She was happy about, and she basically told me I didn't need to schedule another appointment unless I needed one in the future. She also encouraged me to continue taking the metformin to help with my PCOS and regulate my hormones. And then I went back to my OBGYN, who was also shocked to see the improvement. And she then said I was ready to start seeing a fertility specialist. So that's how I went from being at my heaviest to almost 50 pounds lighter, and how healing opened the door for me to start my trying to conceive journey. In the next video, I'll share the details about my experience seeing the fertility specialist. If you've tried fasting, carnivore, or other ways of losing weight to heal from PCOS, drop it down in the comments. I would love to hear your experience. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you would like to hear more about my PCOS healing and trying to conceive journey. Let's do this together. You've got this, girl. I'll see you in the next video.